So there was really three major ways to approach a situation. You're either gonna be that guy who just jumps right in and does it, or you're gonna be that guy who kind of sits back for a little while, watches how things go on, and then does it, or you're gonna be that guy who falls into the trap of analysis paralysis.
Oh my God, stop.
And that is the thing that we really want to avoid. None of these approaches are inherently bad, but the analysis approach can definitely lead to bad if you allow that analysis to turn into a lack of doing anything and you just stand around and look at things all day long.
Would you look at that?
And so me and my two older brothers kind of exemplify these three personalities perfectly. And an analogy that we frequently use between each other is just like going to the pool. And it's interesting to see how an idea and a concept so mundane and ordinary as going to the pool can be approached in three drastically different ways based on these three drastically different personalities. So I'm going to break those down for you here, show you the different approaches, show you the goods, the bads, the uglies, and how to avoid the things that you want to avoid. So the first one, starting out with the middle of the three brothers, he is our doer. And he is the person who will take action first and think about it later. And there's good things and there's bad things that come to that. But when you're talking about going to the pool on a hot Saturday afternoon, the doer is the person who's going to cannonball right into the pool and then worry about the shampoo in his eyes after he's been in the pool. And that is just the way of the doers. The doers work on a total like high impact, high risk, high reward mentality.
Crazy owes me money for bailing you out. Oh, my head.
And that can be a good thing because the doers tend to get more reward than any of the other two personality types as they get in on the ground floor. They get in on these things before everyone else is there, before the crowd is there, and they can get established and just explode from there. Now, naturally, what comes with that, the problem is the exact opposite, is that these doers are doing all of these things that no one else is doing. And sometimes when you jump into the pool, there's no water in the pool and you crack your head on the concrete. And that is a risk that you take from being a doer. And again, it's like I said, it's high risk, high reward. It does pay off to be a doer. They tend to work really well with the more analytical types. They work really well with the middle ground type as well, the hybrid. The analyst or the hybrid are going to kind of see what's going on and try and warn the doer before the doer jumps in and does something crazy or reckless. But the good thing about teaming up with a doer is the doer is going to drag the hybrid person or the analytic person into the pool with them eventually. They're not just going to sit in the pool and be by themselves all day.
Woo! Yes, I'm in. What are you waiting for?
Oh, it's freezing.
It's all in your head. Just don't think about it.
Sure, don't think. Okay, here I come.
And that can be really helpful. And it has its opposite issues as well. But just doing stuff, knocking it out, getting stuff done, taking action first, and thinking about it later, those are our doers. A crucial reaction when you are a doer is being able to pivot. So you need to be able to recognize when things are not going your way and how to pivot and move on to the next thing. And that is how the doers stay on top of things and keep from any loss from being too substantial and keep having these big wins and these big gains that kind of build and compound onto each other. Because again, compound interest works more than just in the financial realm. It works here in the work and productivity realm as well. You build productivity and it compounds into great things for you in the future. And so the doers are the kinds of people who are going to jump right into that pool, but they're going to jump right out and go to the next thing when they lose interest. And that's vitally important for the doer mentality, because if you stick around too much, you run the risk of losing the rewards that you had. And if things are going bad and you jump out in time, you don't get impacted quite as awfully as you would if you had just stayed in the pool the whole time. And then, so moving on to our hybrid method, I'm calling them our learners. They are the people who will jump in generally after the doers. The doers are your first line of defense. They're jumping into the pool and they're getting the chlorine. They're figuring out that the water is too cold and whatever the heck else could be the problem with the pool. And your learners are going to learn from the doers. They're going to watch and be like, that water seems cold. Maybe I shouldn't jump in and do a cannonball all at once. They're gonna be like, that looks like it's not chlorinated water. Maybe I'm not gonna get in at all. And they're gonna make their observations, and then they're gonna take their action shortly thereafter based on the observations that they make. The learner route is oftentimes the safest route, as they've mitigated the risks that the doers showed them, because the doers are in there doing it. And they've learned enough about it that they know how to leverage it in a way that can be beneficial. Being a learner tends to be relatively risk-free, but it also comes with the fact that you usually do not get huge, massive rewards because of it. Those huge, massive rewards are reserved for our doers who are getting in there first and doing it. But if you just want a steady stream of healthy income or whatever it is you're trying to establish, then being a learner is a pretty good, safe bet to be in. Because the learners, again, they're gonna get on the thing after it's been established, it's been around for a while. They're like, this thing is pretty reputable. I know the big things to avoid. I know the big things to not do and to do. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my stab at it now, and I'm going to do the thing. And the learners also tend to stick with these things longer than the doers do. The doers will get in on the ground floor, they'll establish the big things, and then they'll leave on to the next big shiny thing. And then it's your learners who pick up what those doers started and maintain from there until they eventually move on to the next thing, which will be after the doers have done the next thing and the learners have a chance to learn from that and move on. The analytics will be our last person to get in the pool, if they even get in at all. And so the analytics are the people who try to understand every single piece of this puzzle before they put the puzzle together.
Whoa! This hall is dangerous. There must be a back door somewhere. Let's try to find it first, shall we?
They're going to understand the temperature of the water, the level of the chlorine, how many people are in it, the chance of there being urine in the water, all that fun stuff before they get in the pool, or if they get in the pool at all. And that is the danger that our analysts run into, is that they oftentimes miss opportunities entirely because they are far too late to the party. Now, the analysts almost never have any risk at all involved, so it's high risk if you're a doer, it's low risk if you're a learner, and it's practically no risk if you're an analyst, but it's also little to no reward. And that is the danger that you face as being an analyst. And a lot of these personality traits, they're just naturally who we are. We can't oftentimes help how these things shape us and help how our minds work. But we can become aware of how our minds work and attempt to kind of work against our brains and work in a way that helps our minds because we understand our minds. And so that's kind of the point of these videos, is to really help you understand how your mind works so that you can use that and leverage it to your advantage. Because if you're an analyst, then you will fall for that popular phrase, analysis paralysis, and you will just think about things until the end of days, and you'll never actually do the thing. And the nice thing about being an analyst, though, because there is no bad personality. Obviously, the analyst has the highest risk of a lack of success, but that's not to say that analysts are bad or inherently unsuccessful people. It's just that they are at a higher risk of being unsuccessful. The doers are at a higher risk of tanking and blowing their entire spendings on something dumb because they tried this thing that was not proven.
Compression man is baffled. These keys aren't even the right keys. Chicken. Oh dear.
And the learners are doomed to a life of mediocrity because they're never going to get anything quite as big as a doer, and they're never going to be quite as safe as an analyst either. So they all have their pros and their cons. But the biggest takeaway here is that if you are an analyst, recognizing that tendency and leaning more towards actions when you can. It's not always going to make sense to you, and it's not always going to work out for you, but if you can make a conscious effort to understand, like, hey, I've analyzed the situation an awful lot. I think it's time that I just jumped in the pool and just do it. Do it more often than you can. If you're an analyst, it is incredibly helpful to team yourself up with a doer, because the doer is going to jump in there. You're going to give them all the warnings. You'll be like, hey, hold up the pool. It's really cold. You may not want to do the cannonball. And then maybe they decide to like gradually go in the pool instead of cannonballing in. And then eventually the doer is going to be like, hey, you boring wallflower, I'm going to drag you into this pool now because you can't just stand outside the pool all day.
Let's dance! Or take my picture with your new camera.
And that is a really good cooperative teamwork essential way to be. The learners tend to be the ones who gain the least from partnership. Doers can be a successful partner for either personality type. Doers will get the learners in and doing stuff as well. They'll get the analysts in and doing stuff as well. The problem with the learner and doer pair is that the doer might often bring the learner in prior to that learner being prepared or ready for doing it, because the learner is more prone to action, and so the doer doesn't have to persuade them quite so much to get into the pool. And so instead they might get into the pool, but it might be too early, and they might now run the risk of having some substantial loss because they allowed a doer to bring them into the situation. Whereas the analyst and learner pair is probably the worst of the two pairs, because the learner already is going to sit and analyze the situation before they jump in, and then the analyst is going to sit and observe every portion of it before they jump in, and then vicariously the learner can be dragged into the analyst mindset, and they both just sit on the sidelines observing and analyzing and just do nothing the whole time. And so that's where, if you're a learner, it's important to know your strengths and your weaknesses, because you can get easily dragged into one direction or the other. You can get dragged into being a doer, you can be dragged into being an analyst. So just understand your thoughts and how your brain works, and understand how to mitigate those risks. Obviously, as an analyst, you stand to gain the most from partnerships, especially with doers, because they'll drag you in, they'll get you doing stuff where you normally wouldn't be doing anything at all. And so those are our three major approaches for a situation. You're going to be a doer, you're going to get in, you're going to knock it out, high risk, high reward. Or you're going to be a learner, and you're going to see the doers, see what they're doing, you're going to understand the situation, you're going to get in, and you're going to have a steady flow of success, but nothing major. Or you're going to be an analyst, and you're going to analyze every situation, and you're kind of like a sniper. You're hitting that precision shot, and when that moment is perfect, you're going to take your actions, and then boom, you've got your rewards. And that probably be a once-in-a-lifetime thing for you, but you mitigated any sort of risk at all whatsoever. That's what it comes down to. Being able to understand your personalities, avoid the struggles that become apparent once you understand your personality, and making sure that you keep taking action in accordance to that understanding. And so here we are. I've got my books available on Amazon. I've got an animation here on YouTube. I've got more videos on this channel if you'd like to check them out, all about productivity and just getting stuff done. I appreciate you stopping by. If you check out any of my other material, that would be absolutely delicious. Thank you, and I'll catch you on the next one.